So that was Brad Pitt. So let's take a look at our next situation here. Now we have the second lord falling in the fourth house. Now, Parashara tells us that this is the wealth lord abiding in the happy Bhava, the fourth house. This person is fully endowed with all success. Joined with Jupiter in an exaltation, the person likely becomes a king. So this is obviously, we have the second lord falling in the fourth, the happy Bhava. So the second house is going to bring this person happiness in some ways. Anything that falls into the fourth house, you're probably going to be experiencing happiness through that house, through the sign lord, the lord of the house lord of whatever is falling into that fourth house. Now, remember, when Parashara gives us something like this, we have to understand it, that if there's afflictions to the second lord in the fourth house, there'll be a sore feeling that I don't have what I need for success, that I don't have happiness from my early childhood wealth and abundance. This could be a person who, when the second lord goes bad in general, there's generally a feeling that I don't have enough. There's a scarcity mindset. When it falls in the fourth house, that scarcity mindset brings overall emotional depression and lack of personal happiness. Finances are going to be what they are at some level, and everybody's got their lot in life. Everyone's got the wealth that they got given from their parents. At some level, you kind of just accept it. Meditation can be very useful for a person with anything going on in the fourth house. In this case, meditation and realization should teach you to let go of what you cannot control in regards to the finances that you have in front of you, and more importantly, you can't change the past and what your family upbringing was like, but you can change your attitude towards it now. Now, when the second lord is especially in the fourth house, joined with Jupiter and in exaltation, Parashara tells us this person becomes like a king. With Jupiter, Venus, or also in exaltation, one is king-like, which is kind of saying the same thing. But with Jupiter in exaltation, this is a huge king-like position where the person is regarded and highly respected as a king. It's an interesting little astrological signification here. Parashara often gives us these deep, enigmatic verses in this way, whenever he is giving his depiction of the Bhava yogas. Now, what we're about to read, what we just read actually comes from Parashara. Now, this next section comes from the Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 2, where Ryan Kirksack and Richard Fish kind of breaks down their depiction of each of the house lord falling into a certain house. So this is the second lord in the fourth house. When we read this, we're always going to see a polar opposites. Okay, they give us good things to expect from good positions with this second lord in the fourth house, and they give us negative things to expect from a bad position of the second lord in the fourth house. Most people are going to be a mix of both. Most people are going to be able to read the good stuff and say, this is what I should be aiming for with this placement. And then they'll read the bad stuff and they'll say, this is the stuff I've got to stay away from. I've got to be mindful of. I've got to steer clear of. Especially if you have Rahu or Ketu involved with the second or fourth house or lords, the Atmakarika, the Swamsha. This should be an important reading for you. But if you don't have both, if you have great things happening with both of these houses, you'll probably read the good stuff and you don't need to hear the bad stuff. But if, still be mindful, because even people with good stuff can see the afflictions of the bad stuff, right? So this is the second lord in the fourth house. Let's read the good stuff first. This is a person who invests money in a home or vehicles. The fourth house relating to vehicles as well as real estate. The bottom of the chart, under the earth. This is a person, earning especially from real estate is a common thing with these people. I mentioned this with the second lord in the second house. Management of the second house, finances can kind of come through landed property often. And this includes having a home, it's your old family home, and you get renters in there. The renters pay the mortgage, and you make extra money to slap the mortgage on every 5 years, whatever. This kind of real estate financial stuff is common with second lord in general, but in the fourth house in particular, landed property. So this person tends to work second house from home, fourth house. And they get comfortable at home, and that's how they make their living. They're good at saving money. Steady finances for this person can lead to emotional contentment. This shows that emotional contentment kind of depends on having steady finances. This person deals in fixed assets such as land, buildings, property, farms, or agriculture very often. They earn that way. That's their second house earnings, right? Now, this person can deal in luxuries such as homes, cars, boats, planes, etc. This person earns resources supporting others. They're good at making other people happy. And this happiness that they bring to others, this is the second lord, which is of the face, of the throat. It's kind of like a vibration you give off. If it's in the fourth house and it's well placed, you've got your own happiness that people are attracted to, and this can tend to rub off on other people. Education tends to be important for this person. Education is a second house and a fourth house thing, even more of a fourth house thing. And education can be something that they can kind of base their earnings on in some ways. Their early childhood, second house, lays a foundation for their emotional peace, the fourth house. And this is, again, critical no matter what positionings, no matter what afflictions, no matter what good things you have in these positions. The second lord, being the early childhood house, is in the fourth house of happiness. So your happiness very strongly depends on the experiences you had when you were younger. Again, you can't change them, but you can go through therapy. Self-realization, meditation is going to help you rearrange the books in your memory library so it's not scrambled and there aren't pages flying out of it, right? Very important for everybody, but especially for this person. This person feels secure, generally, if things are going well here. This is a person who should be nurturing overall. It's a person who earns money and then nurtures people, and they spend and invest money on nurturing people. Like there's a farming agricultural metaphor working from the second house, second lord in the fourth house here. The person is happy to provide for their mother. They should be. And if they can't, it might cause them some anguish. They may work in or have an interest in early childhood education or development. This could be the fourth house mothering. Education of the fourth house is something that earns them money, the second house. They work with mothers. This could be literally a doula, or one of those people who helps with childbirth and child rearing, daycare providers, that kind of thing. This person tends to have a pleasant personality and comforting speech. If all goes well, if their childhood was not horrendous, and if this person has emotional, financial security. The basic mental, emotional things can be very Taurus-oriented, second house, stability-oriented. And they need that in order to be chill. Now, this is a person... We've spoken of all the good things that can be expected from this. Now, if there's afflictions, if this second lord is not happy in the fourth house, it happens all the time. It can happen in various ways. An example I can think of is, let's say, Libra, Scorpio. No, that'd be a good placement. Yeah, that'll work. Let's say Aries rising. Taurus is going to be the ruler of the second house. And Venus is the ruler of Taurus in the second house for an Aries rising. And you've got Venus falling into the sign of Cancer. Venus is starved by the moon in the sign of Cancer. Still happy because it likes to be close to the fourth house. But if we have, let's say, Saturn is also starving this Venus, and let's say the moon is, let's say the sun is trine to this Venus somehow, that also harms the Venus, it's going to be happy in the fourth house. But there's a lot of, if there's lots of indications of malefic energy or draining energy to that Venus, these are examples of things where that second lord in the fourth house, there's going to be primal, early childhood stuff that happened that caused you to feel drained, that caused afflictions in your early childhood, which created probably a scarcity mindset where I'm never going to have enough. And there's an emotional element to that. You feel like you don't have enough for what you want in your childhood or in your early childhood. You can feel the lack of abundance in your family and in yourself. And this creates an emotional bout, an emotional depression, a feeling like I don't deserve it, like I didn't get enough. And as time goes on, you're feeling these emotions, and there's a synaptic connection to the feeling of not having enough. So this is like examples of the second lord in the fourth house kind of gone awry. Now this person, when things are bad with this position, this is a person who tends to waste money on homes or vehicles. They spend excessive amounts of money and time on extraneous things in the home and in their vehicle. Their negative early childhood experiences can be particularly connected to their mother, the feeling that their mother doesn't give them enough, and now there's probably a feeling like their mother pushed them emotionally to do a lot. Their mother might have lived vicariously through them, put a lot of energy into them, but it was like not even necessarily a healthy financial security. When this sign goes well, the mother's emotionally happy themselves and financially stable, so they give the kids the food and the nurturing and the education that they need to kind of be okay on their own. When this goes wrong, what usually happens, the mother doesn't have her own second house in order. She's not financially or emotionally stable, and she tries to vicariously pressure the child, to wring it through the child, to make the child feel, to make the child be the ringer, to make up and compensate for the mother's lack of joy, of money, and hopefully the child will take care of me when I'm older. And then now the kid has this feeling like I'm obliged to do what my mother kind of did for me, but it's less out of love and more out of desperation on the part of the mother, especially if the mother doesn't have a good husband. The mother really, if the mother's own lack of value caused her to not be able to carry her love with any of the men in her life, she's going to grip her children more than anything else, and this puts pressure on the children. So these things can happen, This person, out of these energies and feelings, they waste resources on luxuries in order to make themselves happy. They can be greedy. They can have difficulty actually saving, which is, there's an abundance mindset that needs to be taught here. Money is like blood. When you try to squeeze the vein, it stops coming in and it stops coming out. So learning to understand abundance, letting go, and receiving love, these are important for this position. This person can feel like an outcast, like no mother could possibly truly love them. They would rather be taken care of than earned their own way, and they feel emotionally depressed when no one's taking care of me. That's okay when you're young, but as you get older, you should get over that and make your own way. And a lot of people that's no issue, But for these people, having the second lord in the fourth house, there's a memory, an emotional connection to never having been taken care of. And now they take it personally that the world isn't saving them. The world's not holding their hand, right? It's hard. I'm being very Leo about this reading, but hopefully it's helpful. This person makes up stories to improve their own self-esteem that they never felt they really got. Their money problems can create difficulty in completing educational endeavors or feeling like they can really follow through on their educational endeavors. Fourth house is very tied in with the ninth house in getting a basic education. Fourth house is really your basic childhood education, just like the second house too. But the fourth house is really an important one, and it's your high school education, and it's your ability to basically learn so you can eventually do higher education. And the feeling like you couldn't go to school, you don't have the money, it's too much pressure. This is very classic second lord in the fourth house afflicted stuff. This person does poorly with real estate ventures. They're not good with plants or growing things. You know, so if you have difficulty with real estate, if you have difficulty with agriculture, with growing things, this could show you, this should tell you that there's a signification of the lacking of affliction in this position. You know, you might have Venus, you might be an Aries rising with Venus in Cancer, but there's no bad planet starving it, although that Venus is still starved by the moon there. It's thirsted in that case. So in such a situation, you might think, I don't know, does that mean it's bad? You know, do I have a tough position here, but Venus is happy in the fourth house? You should feel a bit of both. And if you have difficulty growing plants, that's a good indicator that there might be more here that you should think about, that you should ring through, especially if you got Rahu, Ketu, Atmakaraka, Swamsha involved in any of this. You should always, any importance going into the second lord in a chart, check out your early childhood trauma, do some therapy, look up, you know, what should have happened there, talk with a therapist about it, speak, get it out of your throat chakra so you can relieve that throat chakra, come back into that abundance flow and mindset. For this person, dietary factors, second house, can hurt the heart and circulatory systems. The fourth house in some ways relates with Cancer and the heart and chest area. So a damaged second lord is going to cause damage to this heart chakra, to this chest area, especially dietary factors, feeling like I never got enough food when I was young. My parents didn't love me enough. I didn't have enough money. My family was poor. The scarcity mindset, or just a general, you know, you might have had money, your parents might have had lots of affluence, but they didn't deeply care for you as an emotional true investment. So they just made you fast food, you know, give you all the crap that you want to eat to your heart's content, and don't actually develop proper dietary habits. That can happen too. So good luck. You know, I hope that this was helpful. And the example chart that I have here for today for this person, I decided to show Aleister Crowley. And it's interesting to think of Aleister Crowley. His second lord, Mercury, is in the fourth house with Jupiter. And it's kind of starving that Jupiter there. But of course, as we read from Parashara, this person joined with Jupiter. Now, the Mercury is not an exaltation, but just being joined with Jupiter, there's a king-like energy to Aleister Crowley. I don't know if you know a lot about Aleister Crowley. I've read a lot about him. He's a very interesting character. And he definitely had ego issues. He definitely had problems with his mother. And he had a lot of these early childhood feelings of not getting enough. But he had a kingly disposition, I would say, in the way that he operated a lot of things. And that's partly from the second lord in the fourth house, being delighted by Jupiter, being with Jupiter. There's a feeling that I am deserving and worthy of good things that come to me. It's a mixed bag for Crowley. I'm sure if we dug around, we could probably, we can see that this moon is starving Mercury here. If we dug around, we could probably find some interesting, ugly things going on with this Mercury and this fourth house. But I digress. There's a little bit of both going on there with Crowley. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.